The following is a fact regarding Denzel Washington that Hollywood has never disclosed to you. A secret that he had managed to conceal for many years is hidden beneath the facade of a two-time Oscar winner. He was betrayed by 6 people who he had previously referred to as idols, friends, and trusted co-stars in such a devastating manner that it completely wrecked his faith in other people. He is breaking his silence after all this time, at the age of 70. Once you find out who they are, you will begin to doubt all of the information you believe to be true of him. The famous actor whose real name is Willard Carroll Smith, Jr. The moment when Denzel fell out of respect, it is hard to imagine, but Denzel Washington's patience was tested to the breaking point by someone who was not an arrogant rookie. It turned out to be Will Smith. Absolutely, that is the same person that was once referred to as Hollywood's golden boy. Everything was turned upside down as a result of the night of the Oscars in 2022. Denzel was slapped, and then he witnessed something that he had spent his entire life trying to avoid. A man who has entirely lost his ability to maintain control in the eyes of the public. You could almost feel the breath being sucked out of the room when Will went onto that stage and struck Chris Rock. Cameras were able to capture the pandemonium, but they failed to record Denzel rising to his feet, approaching, and speaking in a way that seemed more like a homily than a consoling statement. When you are at the pinnacle of your success, use caution. That is the moment that you are taken away by the devil. Sympathy was not what that was. It served as a caution. According to insiders, Denzel quickly backed out after the events of that night. He refrained from publicly humiliating Will. That is something that he does not do on any occasion. However, he stopped answering phone calls, avoided attending private events, and whispered to his companions that Hollywood had lost how to behave like men. Denzel was the subject of that particular saying. The smack was more significant than the drama that unfolded. It was a treacherous act. For years, he had stood up for Will, had faith in his discipline, his image, and his ability to manage himself. And without warning, the camera was no longer capturing any of it. Since that time, there has been neither any form of partnership, nor any friendship, nor any public support. There is only estrangement. Denzel Washington has an adversary in the form of Jared Leto, one that he never desired to have. There is no way that you would anticipate that Jared Leto would end up in the 2nd place on Denzel Washington's personal blacklist. Is there? But here he actually is, the performer who is able to transform their feelings of adoration into feelings of anger more quickly than any other person. It was not a single battle nor a single film. This was the method used by the industry in an attempt to get them to compete with one another. The magazine headlines such as "Let Meets His Match, 2 Generations of Greatness" were published when the announcement that The Little Things was going to be released was made public. Denzel did not appreciate being flattered in that way. It made him really angry. As soon as filming started, everything began to go wrong at a rapid pace. Leo made his entrance in a very celebrity-like manner. Sunglasses that darken the eyes, hints of method acting, giving gifts that are considered bizarre to the crew, and keeping everyone off balance. The reporters were enamored with it. Denzel failed to do so. In his opinion, it was a display that was meant to take place away from the camera and was intended to draw attention. Denzel did not hesitate to respond in a straightforward manner when he was asked by someone about his feelings regarding Leto's technique. He simply stated, "Whatever works for him. The acting portion is something that I do." That was shade, and that was a fact that was well known by all of the people in the room. Their relationship became more colder behind the scenes. Leo attempted to engage Denzel in a conversation, referring to him as a master. Nevertheless, Denzel was reluctant to converse on trivial matters. There are rumors circulating that he made the following statement to a member of the crew: "That boy is chasing mystery instead of truth." Denzel did not appear for any joint interviews following the completion of the film. Leto gave him a commendation in front of other people. Denzel absolutely disregarded whatever it was that the other man was trying to communicate to him. The individual who possesses the smile, Chris Pratt, it was impossible for Denzel to stand up. What is the outcome when the irresistible charisma of Chris Pratt encounters the unwavering discipline of Denzel Washington? There is a storm that catches everyone on the set of The Magnificent Seven completely by surprise. On paper, it seemed like everything was going according to plan, but behind the scenes, the atmosphere was so tense that you could almost cut it with a knife. Denzel found Pratt's cheerful and silly demeanor to be irritating. Despite this, both men maintained their composure. Months later, Pratt made a remark that went viral and caused everything to erupt. During an appearance on The Tonight Show, he shared with the presenter that although it was wonderful to work with Denzel, Denzel is so serious that it is as if he is unaware that humor is a part of life. It was a big hit with the audience. Denzel failed to do so. It took 48 hours for the clip to be sent to him. According to people who are close to Denzel, he listened to it twice without making any noise and then simply commented, "He wants to be funny at my expense. Leave him alone." That is the point at which the friendship came to an abrupt and premature conclusion. Denzel is rumored to have led the way in designing a magazine cover that was intended to have the two of them. Although scheduling difficulties were cited to the studio representatives, the actual situation was known by everyone else. Although Denzel's team said that he was not available for an undetermined period of time, Pratt attempted to make contact with him through intermediaries. There was not a single occasion when they showed up together at the award ceremonies associated with the movie. Denzel doesn't yell, he makes you disappear. A crew member from The Magnificent Seven subsequently confessed. One day, you are a part of his world, and the next day, you are nothing more than a memory. Pratt is the perfect example of this situation. Ethan Hawke, the colleague that overstepped the mark. Denzel Washington's secret list includes Ethan Hawke in the 4th position, a co-star who assisted Denzel Washington in winning a gold medal and then inadvertently destroyed the friendship that came along with it. In the year 2001, the moment that Training Day premiered in theaters, both men were invincible. The film detonated, their chemistry was lauded by critics, and then the Academy Awards came around. Denzel was awarded the title of Finest Actor. Ethan was nominated for Supporting Role, but what transpired backstage transformed the celebration into a moment of silence. Several weeks following the awards, Hawke participated in an interview that continues to be a source of distress. The script was responsible for the most of the work, according to what he said. It would have looked great on everybody. Denzel Washington did not pass off the comment as an embarrassing one, unlike the fans who initially did so. He interpreted that as a lack of respect coming from the only individual who should have been aware of what was appropriate. According to the statements of his friends, he referred to it as a knife with a smile. Denzel stayed away from the other participants when they were taking a group shot during the reunion in 2002. Hawke made an attempt to tell a joke. On the subject, I suppose that I should have chosen my words more carefully in the past. You already did plenty of talking, was Denzel's response. Whatever remained came to an end with that line. The studio sent out invitations to both performers to participate in a panel discussion in celebration of the 20th anniversary of Training Day. Hawke made an appearance. Denzel refused the offer. Although his representative stated that he was traveling, those close to him knew that he was unwilling to perform on the same stage as a person who had cast doubt on his legacy. The co-star that went too far in pushing Denzel is Mark Wahlberg. Now, this is where things begin to become complicated. Mark Wahlberg can be found at the 5th position on Denzel Washington's own list of things he will never do again. It is indeed the Mark Wahlberg, the Boston tough man, who believed that joining Up with Denzel on the movie Two Guns would be the pinnacle of his career. On the contrary, it devolved into a standoff that took place behind the scenes, and to this day, both of the men refuse to discuss it. This began even before the cameras began to roll. Wahlberg was present during the table reads, making jokes, incorporating improvised dialogue, and boasting about the manner in which he made his way through the screenplay without the need of notes. Denzel, with his eyes locked in place, remained silent as he sat. He bent over and whispered, "You do your thing. I'll take care of mine." After waiting for a full 10 minutes, I will complete my own version, and we will have to wait and see which parts the editor decides to retain. Denzel was not joking when he made his comment, despite the fact that everyone around him laughed in an awkward manner. From that day forward, there was a palpable sense of tension on the set. Things got out of hand when we were shooting the movie. It is rumored that Wahlberg attempted to pitch fresh dialogue directly to the director, with the intention of increasing the amount of conversation between their characters. The fact that Denzel overheard the conversation compelled him to inform the assistant director, "I don't engage in banter." That one line that I just delivered is a succinct summary of their entire relationship. One incident that was remembered by the crew involved Wahlberg arriving late and attributing the delay to traffic. Denzel gave him a glance and remarked, "TF, Vic didn't put a stop to what I was doing." There will be no shouting, no insults. All there will be is the calmness of precision that humiliates. Wahlberg maintained his physical separation from that point forward. Denzel had stopped putting on an act by the time the press tour came around. He would give a little grin and respond in a noncommittal manner to inquiries about their relationship, saying, "We came, we worked, we left." In the meantime, Wahlberg lavished Denzel with accolades, referring to him as a legend. Denzel did not return any of it. According to reports, he made a declaration to his team in private that he would never again find himself in the same picture as that individual. Not surprisingly, a sequel to Two Guns was never produced. Tyrese Gibson is that protégé who talked his way out of trouble. You may be taken aback to see who is at the bottom of Denzel Washington's list of people he hates. Tyrese Gibson is a singer who switched careers to become an actor and went from being a huge fan to an outcast in a very short amount of time. When admiration is transformed into an allegation, the consequences are illustrated perfectly in their story, which is the quintessential Hollywood cautionary tale. Denzel was someone whom Tyrese had worshipped since forever. In interviews, he would cite him, copy his passion, and even refer to him as the man I model my discipline after. However, in the year 2014, Tyrese's comments on The Breakfast Club, in which he said, "Denzel never gave me a shot," resulted in the loss of his admiration for Denzel. For the benefit of younger black actors, he locks the gate. Denzel was made aware of that comment prior to having lunch because it went viral overnight. Friends claim that he did not have an angry demeanor. "He was let down" is the translation of the sentence. He confided in one friend and said, "You don't demand mentorship, you earn it." However, the harm had already been inflicted. 2 film offers that were reported to pair them up mysteriously disappeared in the same week. According to the producers, Denzel had scheduling issues, but everyone who was on the scene knew the real reason behind this. He was eliminated. Tyrese attempted to walk back his statement months after making it by stating that his statements were taken out of context, but he continued to repeat the narrative in subsequent interviews, sometimes complimenting Denzel and other times referring to him as frigid. It was that inconsistency that put the final nail in the coffin. Denzel does not participate in theatrical productions. It is erased by him. Denzel responded with a faint smile when asked years later about the process of mentoring younger black talent, saying, "They don't need advice. They ought to be disciplined." That sentence was clearly directed at a specific individual, and the audience was well aware of it. Even at this point in time, Tyrese continues to refer to him as the best of all time, but Denzel's lack of response speaks louder than any disparaging remark. Tyrese disregarded the principle that the concept of loyalty entails having regard for others in public within his universe. You are now aware of the 6 names that Denzel Washington will never forgive. They became legendary as a result of their fame. They became adversaries as a result of being betrayed. Which of these events was the most surprising to you? Let us know by leaving a comment. And be sure not to forget to subscribe, because the most well-kept secrets of Hollywood are far from